You drive it off the lot, you're smiling. The leather smells new. The infotainment screen glows. You feel like you made it. And then, quietly, invisibly, your investment starts bleeding out. Not slowly, fast, faster than you think. There are cars sitting in driveways right now that will lose 20, 30, sometimes 50% of their value before 2026 is even over. We're talking tens of thousands of dollars evaporating into thin air while you sleep, while you make your monthly payments, while you convince yourself you got a good deal. And here's what makes this truly brutal. Most of the people driving these cars have absolutely no idea it's happening. They're not bad people. They're not even bad shoppers. They just didn't know what they were buying into. The used car market has shifted violently in the last 2 years. Interest rates crushed demand. EV incentives got restructured, and certain brands overproduced at exactly the wrong moment. The result? A depreciation bloodbath that's wiping out owners of very specific vehicles. Today, we're counting down the 6 cars that will cause you the most financial pain in 2026. If you own one of these, you need to watch this. If you're thinking about buying one, you need to watch this even more. Let's get into it. 6. Tesla Model 3. Not long ago, owning a Tesla Model 3 was a status symbol. You were ahead of the curve. You were the future. Neighbors asked questions. People stared at charging stations. Tesla had a wait list. A wait list. That's how hot this car was. That era is over. The Model 3 is now one of the fastest depreciating vehicles in the entire EV segment, and the numbers are genuinely shocking. According to automotive valuation analysts, a 2022 Model 3 has already lost close to 40% of its original MSRP in the used market. In some trims, a car that sold for $58,000 3 years ago is now clearing auctions at under $32,000. That's not depreciation, that's a fire sale. But it gets worse. Tesla has cut its own prices aggressively, multiple times, which is essentially the company torpedoing the resale value of every existing owner's car. When the manufacturer drops the new price, the used price has no choice but to follow. Owners who bought at peak 2022 pricing are now underwater on loans for a car worth dramatically less than what they owe. Add to that the explosion of competition. The BYD Seal, the Hyundai Ioniq 6, the BMW i4, all credible alternatives that didn't exist in meaningful numbers just 2 years ago. The Tesla Model 3 is no longer the only intelligent choice in its segment. It's just one of many. The consequence? Resale confidence has collapsed. Dealers are now hesitant to take Model 3 trade-ins at anything close to book value. And with Tesla's brand perception under renewed pressure following Elon Musk's political controversies impacting consumer sentiment in key markets like Europe and California, the trajectory heading into 2026 doesn't look like a recovery. It looks like continued pain. 5. Nissan Leaf. This one hurts differently, because the Nissan Leaf was supposed to be a hero. It was the first mass-market electric vehicle. Launched in 2010, it was genuinely revolutionary. Nissan deserved enormous credit for betting on EVs before the world was ready. For a brief, glorious moment, the Leaf was the face of the electric revolution, and then Nissan just let it die, slowly, in public. While competitors raced to longer ranges, faster charging, and sleeker designs, the Leaf stood still. The base model's 149-mile range feels embarrassing in 2026, when competitors routinely offer 270 to 350 miles. The CHAdeMO charging standard the Leaf uses is now essentially obsolete. Many charging networks have already removed CHAdeMO connectors entirely, turning the Leaf into a car that is genuinely difficult to charge on road trips. The depreciation reflects the abandonment. A 2021 Nissan Leaf that sold for around $32,000 new is now trading in the used market for under $14,000 in many regions. That's a depreciation rate exceeding 55% in roughly 4 years. Industry analysts tracking EV residuals have flagged the Leaf as one of the worst performers in the entire automotive space, not just in the EV category. The cause is straightforward and slightly tragic: neglect. Nissan invested in the Ariya crossover and essentially left the Leaf to fend for itself in a market that had completely evolved past it. With no major update on the horizon and the brand's overall financial struggles in 2025, including significant losses and restructuring announcements, the Leaf's future is murky at best. By the end of 2026, Expect Leaf values to deteriorate further as newer, better-supported EVs flood the used market at competitive price points. 4. Ford Mustang Mach-E. Oh, this one made people angry just by existing. Mustang fans never forgave Ford for putting that name on a crossover SUV, but Ford didn't care. They pushed forward, and for a minute, the Mach-E was selling well. Reviews were solid. It seemed like a calculated risk that was paying off. Then the calculation broke. Ford has lost staggering sums of money on its EV division, a reported $5.1 billion loss in 2024 alone from the Model E segment. That's not a typo, billions. The company has been forced to restructure, cut EV production targets, and reassess its entire electrification strategy, and the consumer market has noticed. The Mach-E's depreciation curve has turned steep. Vehicles from the 2021 and 2022 model years are seeing value drops of 45 to 50% on the used market. Ford itself slashed the Mach-E's sticker price multiple times, at one point cutting nearly $8,000 off the MSRP, which crushed the resale value of cars already in owners' hands overnight. The Mustang name added cultural weight but not resale protection. In fact, some used car analysts argue the name association backfired, attracting buyers who eventually felt misled by the experience gap between a classic Mustang and an electric crossover, leading to faster trade-ins and higher used market supply. Competition from Tesla, Hyundai, and now an avalanche of competitively priced Chinese-manufactured EVs entering Western markets through various channels has squeezed the Mach-E from all sides. Heading into 2026, there is no clear floor on where these values land. 3. Genesis GV80. Oh, now we pivot to luxury, because depreciation doesn't care how expensive your car was. Sometimes it punishes expensive cars most. The Genesis GV80 launched with genuine buzz, gorgeous design, opulent interior, a credible challenger to the BMW X5 and Mercedes GLE. Hyundai's luxury arm came out swinging, and the automotive press loved it. For a moment, Genesis felt like a real luxury contender. But perception and reality in the luxury segment are separated by one brutal metric: resale value. And Genesis, despite the beautiful product, has a resale problem that will define 2026. A 2022 GV80 that left a showroom at around $65,000 is now facing used market. Valuations in the mid to low $30,000 range in many markets, a depreciation hit of over 45% in under 4 years. Compare that to a BMW X5 of the same vintage, which typically retains 55 to 60% of its value over the same period. The gap is devastating. The core issue is brand equity. Genesis is still building it. And in the luxury space, buyers aren't just purchasing metal and technology. They're buying certainty, the certainty that their car means something. BMW buyers know their car will hold value. Genesis buyers are still finding out whether that's true. In 2026, the answer is not yet. Dealers report that Genesis trade-ins are among the most challenging to wholesale at fair prices. The supply of used units is growing as early adopters cycle out, but demand from second-hand luxury buyers hasn't kept pace. That imbalance is going to push values down further before any stabilization occurs. 2. Volkswagen ID.4. Volkswagen sold the world on a vision. The ID.4 was the people's EV, the spiritual successor to the Beetle and the Golf, but electric, German engineering, global ambition, a car for everyone. The reality has been an operational catastrophe. The ID.4 launched with serious software problems, over-the-air update failures, infotainment systems freezing mid-drive, features simply not working as advertised. Owners took to forums. Reddit threads documenting ID for software nightmares went viral, with some users reporting their cars required multiple dealer visits within the first year of ownership. Consumer Reports flagged the ID for as significantly below average in reliability. The financial damage to Volkswagen Group has been immense. The company reported massive losses in its EV division, was forced to consider closing German factories for the first time in its history, and announced tens of thousands of job cuts in 2024 and 2025. When a manufacturer is fighting for its corporate survival, the residual confidence in its vehicles collapses. Used ID for values reflect the catastrophe. A 2021 ID, for that retailed around $43,000, is now selling in the $18,000 to $22,000 range, representing depreciation of nearly 50 to 58%. In markets where government EV incentives on new cars are still active, the math becomes even more brutal. Why buy a used ID? For with known software issues when a new competitor is available at a similar net price after incentives. Heading into 2026, Volkswagen is trying to stabilize the platform with significant software overhauls. But trust, once broken in the automotive space, is painfully slow to rebuild. 1. Lucid Air. And here it is, the #1 fastest depreciating car heading into 2026. The Lucid Air was supposed to be the Tesla killer. It had the range record over 500 miles on a single charge, certified by the EPA. It had stunning design. It had technology that genuinely impressed automotive engineers. Motor Trend loved it. The automotive press called it a masterpiece, starting at around $70,000 and climbing past $130,000 in top configurations. It was positioned as the ultimate expression of what an electric vehicle could be. And it is falling off a cliff financially. A 2022 Lucid Air Grand Touring, originally retailing for approximately $138,000, is now appearing in the used market at under $65,000. Some configurations have lost over 55% of their value in less than 3 years. There is almost no other vehicle, luxury, exotic or otherwise, that has depreciated at this velocity. The cause is existential. Lucid Group has been hemorrhaging cash at an alarming rate. The company has delivered far fewer vehicles than projected, producing around 9,000 cars in 2024 against initial targets that were dramatically higher. Revenue cannot cover operating costs. The company has survived largely on capital injections from Saudi Arabia's public investment fund. Every quarter brings new concern about whether Lucid can survive long enough to build the next generation of vehicles. Social media has taken notice. On X and in EV enthusiast forums, the question being asked is no longer whether Lucid builds a better car than Tesla. The question is whether Lucid will exist in 3 years. And when that question is being asked about a manufacturer, the resale market answers viciously. Nobody wants to own a car from a brand that might not be able to service it. The Lucid Air is a brilliant machine made financially terrifying by the uncertainty surrounding the company that builds it. In 2026, that uncertainty is not going away. It is getting louder. Honorable mentions to cars that narrowly missed this list but deserve a warning. The Rivian R1T is facing significant residual pressure. Rivian has improved operationally, but a 2022 R1T is already down 40% in many markets. And ongoing profitability concerns are keeping used buyers cautious. The Cadillac Lyriq is another near miss, a genuinely impressive vehicle. But GM's repeated starts and stops with its EV strategy, including rolling back electrification targets, have shaken confidence in the brand's commitment. And that uncertainty is showing up in resale numbers. Here is the uncomfortable truth that the car industry does not want you sitting with too long. A car is almost never an investment. It is a purchase. And some purchases are dramatically more painful than others. In 2026, the vehicles on this list are not just losing value, they are exposing a broader market correction that was always coming, a reckoning for overproduction, broken software promises, brand overconfidence, and EV hype that occasionally ran ahead of EV reality. The smartest thing you can do before signing any paperwork is look at the 5-year depreciation forecast, not just the sticker price or the monthly payment. The monthly payment is the trap. The depreciation is the truth. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you own one of these cars, or do you think a different vehicle should have made this list? Drop your answer in the comments below. The debate in this community is always better than the video itself. If this gave you something to think about, subscribe. We break down the financial side of the automotive world every single week. No fluff, no filler, just the numbers and what they actually mean for your wallet. See you in the next one.